pensions can be massively confusing, particularly for clients who are starting off in their career. So today what I'm going to be doing is running through a few different types of pensions with you and seeing which ones are applicable to you, and hopefully you'll learn something from what we have to say. So let's have a look at it. First one we're going to look at is a defined contribution pension scheme. Now, this is normally something that yourself or your employer sets up for you. Normally, if you're in an occupational pension, they'll have a defined contribution pension scheme where you can contribute, your employer contributes, and you get a bit of tax relief on the side. So if you want to think about it, it's a little bit like getting two forms of free money. You're getting some from your employer, you're getting tax relief back from the revenue, and you're putting in a little bit for yourself. This is going to build up over time. The longer you stay with this company, the bigger this pot becomes. And then once you retire, you'll realise this pension, take a little bit as a tax-free lump sum, normally 25%, and then take the rest as your yearly pension. Now, if you do leave that occupational pension scheme, you can have options of what you want to do with it. You don't have to leave it with that old employer. What you can do is you can bring it with you in the form of what's called a personal retirement bond. Basically, it's a way of taking that old occupational pension scheme, bring it under your control, and it gives you greater access options. So what I mean by greater access options is basically you can have access to this from 50. So instead of leaving it with your old employer and not taking it until you're 65, 66, 67 or whatever age it may be, you have access to it from 50. So if you do need that little bit of cash when you get to that age, you have that availability there. So defined benefit contribution. So what is this in terms of a pension scheme? So a lot of people may have had this previously before the defined contribution really took over, but it's more applicable these days in the public sector, which is what I have a bit of a background in anyway. Now, the defined benefit pension schemes, what it does, it gives you nearly a guaranteed pension when you retire. So you're continuously building up that pension pot as you move through your career. And when it comes to the public service and their entitlements, they are allowable to take 1.5 times their salary as a lump sum if they have over 20 years of service when they retire. So you get a bit of a lump sum, you get a guaranteed pension. It's a really good pension scheme to be in. But if you wanted to complement that pension scheme, there is something else you can do. So you can do AVCs, or additional voluntary contributions. So what are AVCs anyway? Well, they're pretty self-explanatory. It's a voluntary contribution that you put into your pension on the side. So you'll have your one pension pot with your employer. If you feel you may need a little bit more, you can set up an AVC, continue to build into that, and add that into your pension pot when you retire. The other thing you can use it for, if you're in the public sector and you don't have your full 40 years of service and you come to retirement where you get your full lump sum, you can use your AVCs to bridge the gap in that lump sum. So let's say, for example, you have 35 years service. You may say that you might get a lump sum of 100 grand, but your employer is going to give you 80 based off your years of service. What happens then? You have 20 grand of a shortfall. AVCs can be used to bridge that gap, and take your AVCs back tax-free, and in the meantime, you've claimed your tax relief, so you're up money. So essentially you've got tax relief on the way in at 40% or 20% or whatever your rate of tax is, and when you take it back, you're taking it back tax-free. Makes perfect financial sense. So the next pension I'm going to look at is a personal pension plan, or a PPP. What this is used for is a self-administered pension. So if your employer doesn't contribute to a pension or doesn't have a pension scheme, you can set up a personal pension, contribute to it yourself. You still get your tax relief at 20 or 40%, whatever your tax rate is, and then you continue to pay into it until such a time that you retire. Now, there's another type of pension called a PRSA, or a personal retirement savings account. It's much the same as a personal pension, but the difference is if your employer is willing to contribute to this pension, they can contribute to the PRSA, whereas in the PPP, they can't. So it gives you a little bit of a bigger scope. So if your employer comes to you and says, I don't really have a pension scheme, but if you set one up for us, we'll contribute with you, it's the perfect example of what you can do. So they were a few of the common types of pensions that we come across in our day-to-day and here on Ask Paul. But if you have any questions on your pension, or if you have any queries that you may be concerned about, comment below or comment to our Instagram page and write to us in our DM box. We'll be more than happy to help you.